Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. And welcome in to another edition of Another Duly Noted Podcast, presented, as always, by the great folks over at Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And we appreciate Jeffrey Meldon and all the good stuff they do there, the official podcast studio sponsor. There you go. That's what we'll call them. They're a sponsor of the Bob Dooley, too. We'll get to the Bob Dooley a little bit later in the show. Today's guest will be Sean Kelley. Look forward to that, the voice of the Gators. Had him scheduled. I got sick. We had a lot of things we moved around and everything, but we finally got him on today. Look forward to that. I did want to, before we get to the hand law starting lineup, say goodbye to Tammy. It's her last day in here. It's going to make me cry, but she has been incredible. I've told her she's like a third daughter to me now, so I'm there for her whenever she needs money, because that's the only thing anybody else ever calls me for. But she's been great, and we've loved having her and wish she was staying forever. But, hey, we're very confident in Jared, right? Very confident. So far, there's been no problems with Jared and the controls. Now, I've said that and jinxed him totally. It's like guy goes up and hasn't missed a free throw, and the announcer says it, and you know he's going to clang it. So, but Tammy, we love you. We're going to miss you. We will see you. We're not going to let you get out of our lives because you're too special. All right, and the great job she did. I want to thank her so much. All right, let us get to the Hand Law starting lineup. And, of course, it's brought to you by Hand Law, Florida law firm. What a great sponsor Chris Hand has been for us, and we appreciate him so much. Let's start off with the big story of the week, which was coaching departures that kind of surprised everybody. I had heard that William Pegler might be the guy that got cut loose, that you felt like 6 and 7, you weren't going to keep the same staff. I don't know if any of that's true or not, but the bottom line is Pegler goes with Patrick Toney to Arizona Cardinals, and a lot of Gator fans are going to go, great, get rid of him. Worst defense in the history of the school. Well, not his fault, but some of it's his fault. And people who want to say, well, they just didn't have the players. I don't care. They were good enough players to be better than worse. You know, better than worst, I think is the right term I'm supposed to use there. They were the worst ever to play here. So I don't think there's a lot of people getting upset. Losing Kerry Colbert is a little bit of a blow. Wide receivers coach who did a good job, not a great job with those wide receivers, but he was a really good recruiter. So, I mean, again, he goes to Denver. Pegler, obviously the tight end production was not very good, but that's not why he left. He got a better job. And this is one thing people have to understand in this world we're living in. Being an assistant coach at Arizona Cardinals is a better job than being an assistant coach at the University of Florida. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. It's also better than being an assistant coach at the University of Alabama. Going to the NFL now is kind of where, like, it always has been that thing you want to do if you're a coach because you want to that's the next level. It's like we talked about before with Billy Donovan. Billy Donovan wanted to try it at the higher level. And another thing that's happening here, and we know it's happening, are guys are tired of college football because of all the stuff they're dealing with, whether it's transfer portal, whether it's obviously NIL, whether it's recruiting. Sometimes they just go, hey, let's try something else. Let's try something else. So I wouldn't worry too much about the guys who are leaving. They've already hired Austin Armstrong. That's a hire that's going to have to prove itself to a lot of people. He was at Southern Miss where they were okay on defense, and he went to Alabama for two months, and now he's at Florida. He had a previous relationship, and that is what Billy Napier clearly believes in, previous relationships with assistant coaches. A lot of people wanted Billy to hire, whether it was Charlie Strong and then I've heard, in fact, I've talked to Ike Hilliard yesterday, and yeah, Ike Hilliard would love to come back here. Of course, he's been a coach in the NFL and in college at wide receiver coach. People brought up CI, Cornelius Ingram, as a tight ends coach. But look, Billy Napier's going to hire who he feels comfortable with, not who you like as a player, or you thought was a great player. That's not the way this thing works. I know Charlie wanted to come back, but he wanted to come. He was willing to come back and be an analyst, but Florida not interested. I mentioned that on I was on Cole Kubelik and Greg McElroy's show today, and they were, of course, this is a hot topic. What's wrong with Florida? What's going on down there? Well, coaches leave. When Brian Johnson left, which was devastating for people who knew how good a coach he was and is. When he left for the Eagles, people went, "Hey, Dan Mullen calls the play anyway. It's no big deal." But later on, the people that didn't really know a lot of the in-close stuff, that's not even the right word that we use, but the inside stuff, knew how big a blow it was. And a lot of you did understand that this was not going to be good, and we saw it play out, obviously, when he was gone. So, so this could be – but, I mean, these are coaches who left a 6-7 team. And I get why they left, and we'll see what Florida does. I know Dallas Baker is apparently a candidate for the wide receiver job. By the time you listen to this podcast, it may have already happened. We'll see what happens. But it is kind of an interesting dynamic here. Number 2 here on the hand loss starting lineup, we'll talk briefly about the basketball loss. Not think anybody saw a win coming there, and then I saw the spread was 2.5, and I'm like, really? That seems like a great bet. And then Florida keeps fighting back. You got to give them credit for fighting back, but that's at home. Rims you shoot at a lot. They made a lot of shots, made some great shots. I give them a lot of credit for doing what they did. But it also feels like you kind of want the season to get over, which is how I kind of felt with football at the end. You just want it to get over. They got 3 more games left plus one game in the tournament, which is all I would think they would do. They're going to finish under 500. I know that some of the teams they're playing here down the stretch aren't good. LSU just beat Vandy. They play Vandy next. LSU beat Vandy and ended their 5-game win streak, so I don't think LSU is going to be a cakewalk on Senior Day. They're going to finish under 500. They're not, obviously not going to be in the tournament, but it is what it is. And again, we're sitting here. If you're a big Gator fan and you're sitting here going, why do we suck in football and basketball? I remember when we were winning national titles in both the same year. Yeah, those things happen. And I'll talk a little bit about blue bloods and what are blue bloods and what are not a little bit later in the show when we get to the Hesser and Kipke 3 things. I got a good thing for you there. All right, number 3. We had this incident with the fan, which of course got a lot of publicity. It's not a good look for Florida, but it's not a Florida problem. It was one incident. I will say this: nobody has pointed out, and I'm not excusing the fan for what he did. And if you didn't see it, he got tangled up with Case and Wallace on the courtside seats. And what happened, though, I watched it a couple of times. He was pointing to a spot on the floor, the fan was, where the player he felt stepped out before he got the ball in. Wallace came up to get back on the court, which he has certainly a right to, and their arms got tangled, and he didn't give it away right away, and that's why he got ejected. And they were calling for him to be banned for life from every game in the SEC. And I'm like, no, he should never be allowed to sit courtside. I would agree with you on that. I always wonder why that doesn't happen more with courtside seating. But people made way too big of a deal of it, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. It was made out to be way bigger than it really was. Guy should have been ejected. Yeah, can't touch the players, man. You got to back away in that situation. He got a little, who knows? Might have had a couple. Who knows? I don't know. But I don't think it was as bad as everybody said. What was bad was number 4 on the hand loss starting lineup, which is baseball on Wednesday night. We were talking on the radio Wednesday earlier before Jeff did the game, how this feels a lot like the COVID year when Florida made this unbelievable start. I think they were 16-1 or whatever they were, and then COVID shut it down. and then they go out and they got an 8-3 lead in the ninth, and we're all thinking, well, boy, get this game over. Give up 10 in the ninth to lose, or 7 in the ninth to lose the game. It's a bad loss, but I told Jeff, and I've told a lot of people this, nobody remembers who you lose to in February. You know, it's not going to – your RPI is going to be fine, or net, whatever they want to do. I don't know what they do in baseball. Don't worry about that. You got to solve that problem, though, in the bullpen. But you didn't pitch your two guys back-to-back nights, the two guys you are counting to be good in your bullpen. So things happen, okay? It's not that big a deal. And certainly was not good for softball either. Very late last night, they played UCLA. UCLA, I think, might have moved to number 1, but I think they're neither 1 or 2 now in the latest poll, as if that matters. And Florida played them last night and lost 10-0. So it was they got run ruled. That was a little bit of a stunner. I mean, I was kind of following it for a little while, but 2 in the first, 2 in the second. I'm like, I think I'll go to bed. But 6 in the fourth, I think it was. So obviously didn't get the job done out there. But again, very early in the season, you're able to come back from it. We'll see what happens going forward. And finally, number 5 on the hand-loss starting lineup, Aaron Rodgers emerged from the dark and entered the transfer portal. No, I don't know. No, he saw his shadow, and we have 2 more weeks of winter. Whatever it is, he emerged from the dark, and now we'll finally get an answer as to whether he's going to retire or not. If he doesn't, and he goes somewhere, and he wants to go somewhere, and then the chain starts, and this guy and this guy. It's interesting that all the news out of Tampa Bay is that Kyle Trask is going to be their starter for opening day. That's their plan. But what if Aaron Rodgers comes out and says, I'd like to try that. I know, it worked for Brady down here. Yeah, I'd like to come down here. They'll go, hey, Kyle, wait your turn, okay? So I don't know what's going to happen there, but it's going to be interesting to see how all the quarterbacks shake out. And Aaron Rodgers is the main domino. Once it tips, goes all the way around. All right, that's going to do it for our hand-loss starting lineup. We'll be back with Sean Kelley, the voice of the Florida Gators. Play a little yes, no way, or maybe with him. And, of course, he'll be on our Big Mills Cheesesteaks Zoom line. And then, obviously, we got a lot of other stuff to get to because it is a Friday here on another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Dooley Noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Drip Co. To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call-ahead carry-out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam Drip Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life. And the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Pat Dooley Storytime is brought to you by Eastlake Pediatrics. Nobody knows how to provide pediatric health care for little Gators better than Dr. Mike and the other board-certified pediatricians and the pediatric nurse practitioners of Eastlake Pediatrics. They have been providing personalized health care to the children of Pinellas, Pasco, and Hillsborough counties since 2004. And with the recent addition of Dr. Chris, who is also board certified in sports medicine, they are now offering care for youth sports injuries as well. To learn more about Eastlake Pediatrics, call 727-372-6760. And to get to know them better, listen to Dr. Mike and Dr. Carey on their Peds and Pop podcast on multiple platforms.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
Jeffrey, what are you doing?
Well, I'm joining the band, of course. Since Meldon Law is the official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, I want to help.
Dad, we're litigators. Let's stick to helping people in the courtroom.
Well, can we still hang out and jam a little bit? At Meldon Law, we won't back down.
The games of the week and the games of the weekend every week are brought to you by the Ben Eige team at Odell Realty. Ben Eige graduated from the University of Florida in 1998. He and his team now help Gators find vacation homes in Western North Carolina that also double as investment properties. Ben and his team have helped many folks take advantage of the incredible opportunities in mountain homes that also produce amazing returns on investments. Ben Eige and his team at Odell Realty go the extra mile to find properties and evaluate their income potential for their clients. Maybe you've thought of buying a home that can be used as short-term rental via Airbnb or Vrbo, generate income for you, and be a place for your family to vacation. Or you may just be looking for a great way to expand your real estate investment portfolio. I know I am. Visit www.beneige.com/Gators. That's www.beneige.com/Gators and discover what owning your own short-term home can accomplish for you. That's Ben Eige at Odell Realty, licensed real estate broker in North Carolina and proud Gator alum. Visit www.beneige.com/Gators or call 704-201-4264. Okay, welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. It's a great pleasure to bring on the voice of the Gators, the great Sean Kelley, who's now been acclimated a little bit to our great city of Gainesville, Florida, and it's certainly been some culture changes for him. And we promise, Sean, football and basketball will not be this bad in the future. You will see it get better.
Bad's kind of a tough word, don't you think, Pat?
Under 500, at 500, mediocre,
yeah.
I guess.
We'll call it not good, but not bad. How about that?
Yeah, it's obviously it's been not great doing these basketball games. I told you this earlier. I don't really get to listen to many football games, but I do listen to a lot of the basketball, and you are absolutely killing it. You're really – I mean, you don't need anybody to tell you. You're really good doing those basketball games, and I think you've done a heck of a job.
Well, if you'd like to keep telling me that, I'll take it because no, there's some nights I go, boy, I don't know how they let me be around here. But and I'm hoping, Pat, that this weekend I'll get my first ever win against Vanderbilt. Can we do that?
Yeah, they've all of a sudden Vanderbilt's become a rival of Florida, which I never used to be able to say that, but
no, but many have reminded me that I'm 0-2 so far.
Yeah, well, I think Florida's football record is 12-18 since I retired, so I could be the problem. So I'll blame myself for that. Are you? I mean, how are you getting acclimated here? Are you settled in now to Gainesville?
For the most part, I think I'm pleased to report that I can get around town without the use of my phone 90% of the time. So that's a step in the right direction. I'm really eager this summer to dive into Gainesville, the city itself, because as you know, I kind of hit the ground running. I got here days before football camp started. So I haven't had a chance to really kind of enjoy greater Gainesville in a way that perhaps I will, in the years to come. So I'm eager to do that. But otherwise, I mean, really, it has been fantastic. And I knew going in, I had an idea how great the people would be, and it's only proven itself over time. And there's just a vibe here that I really enjoy. Not to mention here in the last couple of weeks, this weather, if we could just have this year round, I'll take that too.
Absolutely. By the way, it does get a little warm here this summer. Just so you know.
I remember moving in. Yes.
It will be a little bit steamy. We'll go to an air conditioned place and have lunch one day. And also, you've got adjustments you have to make every week because you go from a color analyst who talks like Shane does to one who talks like Lee Humphrey to now Jeff Cardozo. I don't know how you're going to do all that.
I've been well trained. There was actually the full year. This will blow you away. The full year before I came to Florida. So my last full-time year at ESPN. From my contract year goes from, I guess it's July 1 to June 30. Between NFL, college football, college basketball, NBA, and MLB, I had 23 different analysts in 12 months. So I'm pretty good now at bouncing back and forth between different partners.
Yeah, I want to get your impressions of being here in terms of being on campus for the atmosphere of games and for both football and basketball. And I know you have to listen to my daughter screaming over your ear, who's a rowdy reptile, but obviously you see an atmosphere that is pretty unique. I mean, the one that you have in football and basketball here at Florida. Yeah,
it truly is. Let's just start with football. It was interesting. You and I had talked about this when I first came to town, that strangely enough, in all my travels, I had never done a game at the Swamp. I had done Florida games, but never one here in Gainesville. So to kind of be able to go from empty building to see what it was at full throat was pretty cool. Not pretty cool, really cool. I mean, just a tremendous atmosphere. And we got good taste of that during a good amount of the home games this year. And nighttime seems to be better. And I am continually blown away by how many Gators fans make the trip here to Gainesville for football and basketball. Sometimes, when we live right here, we think all Gainesville all the time, which is good. I mean, this is home. So, but it's sometimes I have to remind myself that so many Gators fans travel here for games or are listening to games well outside of the greater Gainesville area. So in that sense, I've enjoyed that and learning more about the reach of what Florida Gators football and basketball, and now here soon baseball, really is. And so I've always enjoyed the college atmosphere per se, and that's kind of in a global sense. So to be back into that now full time is really, really enjoyable. And there's an energy that I get on the air just simply by being in these buildings. And so, yes, the Rowdies are right behind me in basketball, and I continually feel the brush of those shakers on the back of my head. That's how close they are. But I love where we are as far as our broadcast position goes, and I'm doing my best to really remember that there is much, and I'm talking about our fans and the building being full, how much of a character that is in the overall presentation of our college games, here in Gainesville. So I let that energy get through me on the broadcast, and I also have learned here, after many years, to kind of get out of the way sometimes and let them help us tell the story as far as the buzz or the sound or the roar of that crowd.
You talked about the reach of the Gator Nation. We've done some analytics on this podcast actually has listeners in Nigeria and Brazil and Scotland and everything like that. That is the reach of this Gator Nation. And you probably heard a lot about it. You're probably getting the full effect of it now that you've actually been here for a while.
Yeah, and speaking of analytics, when we think about the state of Florida, just the state of Florida, with all the teams that are involved here, whether it be at the pro level or major Division I level, Florida, the analytics will tell us, is the most popular team in the state. And that's, beyond the Dolphins and Tampa Bay and everybody else. And that there are more than 3 million fans in the state of Florida alone that are active participants in Gator Nation. So that in itself is pretty remarkable. But then, as you mentioned, because Florida is a national brand and because of the size of its alumni base, it's nationwide and, as you noted, in some cases global too. So this is a town that outpunches its weight because of the university that resides here. And so therefore it is as much of I wouldn't say it's the same type of broadcast that I do nationally for ESPN radio, but the reach is the same. Now, the style's different, obviously, because this is geared more toward Florida fans. And I work for, the university. So in that sense, it's different. But at the same time, there also has to be some recognition that, again, this isn't one station, one little town. This is a affiliate network. And of course, now with the online, whether it be, through your phone, the Florida Gators app or the Varsity app, people are able to access, just like your podcast, Pat, on demand and anywhere and anytime.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And the good thing is you made it almost through the whole basketball season without being ejected from that row. Not everybody can say that sat on that row for the game Wednesday night.
It's interesting how that play developed. I caught it out of the corner of my eye, thankfully. So I was anticipating a stoppage in play. I think a lot of people had already turned their attention to, from my vantage point, the left end of the floor, and Niles Lane going up, making a bucket, getting fouled, and going to the line. But I happened to catch it out of the corner of my eye as play started heading to the opposite end. And there's no question that, obviously there's contact there and there's some form of interference, but it sure looked, especially hindsight now, looking back at it through replay, it's an accidental entanglement between fans who are sitting that close and a player on the floor. Now, does the player get interfered with to where he's unable to get to the other end and participate defensively for Kentucky? Yes. And so probably the ejection is justified and has to be done because otherwise, if you're going to split hairs with that, I think you're heading down a wrong path.
Right.
But the abuse that I think has come that young man's way is a little over the top in my estimation.
I said this earlier that, Jimmy Dykes demanding that he be banned for life from every game in the history of basketball was just way over the top, not atypical of him as an announcer. But when you look at it, yeah, he was reaching to point to the line where he thought he stepped out, and then they kind of tangled arms, and he probably should have let go real quickly. But he should have been ejected from the game. Probably shouldn't be allowed to sit down there anymore, but he can go to the games.
I agree. Look, we have followed the NBA's lead on feet on the floor, feet on the wood, the Jack Nicklaus type seat. So you're putting fans within literally 3 feet of in play, and you're going to have these situations. And so to adjudicate them is sometimes probably somewhat difficult. In fact, Pat, I literally get anxiety when I see somebody, whether it be an NBA game or now here, the way we're doing it in Gainesville and other places in the conference. If someone is a child on that row, I just get anxiety. I've seen too many collisions with guys that are 6'5", 240 pounds. I mean, we're talking about grown people at full speed. And, it is somewhat dangerous. There is a liability there. I think that you have to have your head on a swivel. So, does he need to be up on his feet and trying to outstretch his arm to point to what he thinks is something that's out of bounds? Probably you need to maybe not do that when sitting front row with your feet on the floor like that. So, it's unfortunate. I'm glad that we don't see it more often, frankly. But, in the moment that fan has to be removed. And I think there might have been multiple fans removed in that instance, probably because there were some words said that shouldn't be. But much like anything else that we have currently in our broadcast world or our media coverage of things, take a breath, maybe look at the replay again before you comment as such. And I'm just grateful that I didn't see enough to offer more comment than I did, which was simply this fan's probably going to be ejected. And my only regret from that whole situation, Pat, is that my knowledge of the rule book left me shorthanded because I was unsure, and I admitted it on the air. I was hoping that there would not be a technical foul assessed to Florida, or that the Niles Lane and one would be wiped out because Kentucky was unable to have all 5 actively participating in the play. So I had to kind of wait a moment and just let it play out. Okay, fan ejected, Lane's going to the foul line, so therefore the bucket must stand. They're going to allow him to shoot the free throw. So no harm done to the actual game itself. And so I will write that down and learn from it moving forward.
Oh, I'm right there with you. I go, oh man, that means how far back are they going to go? Are they going to not allow the basket? Or is it going to be a technical? And then all of a sudden they start playing. I went, oh, okay, because I had to sound up on you and sound down on Jimmy Dykes, but I did have to turn it up just to hear what he was saying, and that's why I turned it back. I muted it again, but let me talk to you about this, Sean. And of course, Sean Kelley coming to us on our Big Mill Zoom line. There's this legislation that's out there to shorten the game of football. Now, as an announcer, it does affect you in a lot of ways, but certainly the commercials aren't going to get shorter. We know that. But you kind of stay on top, and it's almost like everybody's going to be running a version of Hurry Up. What are your thoughts about that?
I think that moving closer to the NFL model is not a bad thing. I mean, the NFL is a made-for-TV event at this moment. I mean, it's like you can turn on an NFL game and know it's going to be within this 3-hour window. I mean, that's just the way they've designed it. And if we can get closer to that, I think at the college level, all the better, because we all know, like take the 3:30 Eastern SEC slot on a Saturday afternoon. I know full well that buckle up, it's going to be a 4-hour deal. I mean, It's just the way it is because the length of the commercial breaks and the number now of TV timeouts, whether it be, a regional game or a national game, as I'm referring to in that 3:30 slot. So can we tweak things more toward the NFL way? I think so. I think we could probably be more efficient with video review. Here's the other thing too, is in all this conversation about speeding up the game and everything else, and don't hate at me or tweet it, whatever it is about, halftime festivities in college football, but do we really need a 20-minute halftime? I mean, the NFL does it just fine in 15, and there's 5 minutes right there you can save. We'll start with that. And I think there's still some things unique to the college game as well, whether it be how we run the clock after the chains are set. But this idea of incomplete pass and we're just going to spot the ball and start the clock again, I think that does two things. One, it puts everybody into a scramble mode that is somewhat unnecessary. And two, I think it also disrupts some strategy here. Whether it be in a 2-minute drive, we talk about let's throw to the sidelines. Let's make sure that this guy gets down in time. The same thing goes for an incomplete pass. If a quarterback is managing the game properly and he drops back, there's nothing there, he's running out of clock, chuck it. I mean, ditch the ball so you can live to play another down. So you're talking now about deep strategical or processes that would change if you want to toy around with that portion of trying to save time. And really, how much time are we saving? We're all in this mode right now because, frankly, not to change the subject, but this is related. In this past 7 days, Pat, I've had one conference call regarding college baseball rule changes. I've had another conference call regarding Major League Baseball rule changes. And all of them are about timers and speeding up time and moving the game along faster. And frankly, my head is swimming right now between that and the college football proposals too. So we'll see what they decide here. I'm just hoping, unlike college baseball, they're letting college football people make these decisions. And, in college baseball, it's one guy who's unilaterally making these decisions without consultation from college baseball players and coaches, which seems, frankly, idiotic. But that's just me.
Yeah, well, I didn't even know those rule changes were in place, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, there's a run rule now,
the run rule's okay. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I got no problem with that.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm talking about the pitch clock and disengagement of the rubber and those kind of things. And and we're going to time pitching changes now and visits to the mound, everything's on a clock. And that, the beauty of baseball is that we don't play with the clock. Now, has it gotten out of hand, and has the data shown that the length of a game has increased over the last 25 years? Absolutely. There are things to clean up a little bit, but we've almost swung the pendulum to a untenable situation.
Yeah, I think it's gone too far. Yeah, I would agree with you on that. Mike Martin retired at the right time, I tell you that, because he had the longest walks to the pitching mound, and they last like 4 minutes. But
well, this is true. Yeah, he was a human sundial, is what he was.
All right, it is time for us to play Yes, No, Where, or Maybe. We will do that with Sean Kelley. It is brought to you by Big Mill's Cheesesteak. If you go to Big Mill's Cheesesteak, where street dining is done the right way, you can mention the podcast and get free fries with your order. And speaking of fries and fried food and stuff like that, number one on Yes, No, Where, or Maybe, Sean Kelley, you miss Cajun cooking from Louisiana.
Yes, I do. My doctor is happier, but I do miss it.
Yeah, it is. It's awfully good. It's not just. I mean, everybody can do Cajun, but it's different in Louisiana.
It's different in Louisiana. It's not hot. It's flavorful. And right now, at this time of year, the calendar and my body is telling me it's time for crawfish boils. So somewhere here in North Central Florida, I must find live crawfish to satisfy my craving.
You know, when I was a kid, we used to go into a ditch over there by where St. Patrick's was, and find. But I don't think they were actual crawdads. I think they were just some kind of, I don't know, scorpions that had broken loose.
Mud bugs. No, it's the same thing. They're just
mud bugs,
they're smaller. Yeah.
Really tiny. Yeah, we didn't eat them. All right, number two. You know this team, or you know the franchise. The Pelicans will make the NBA playoffs.
Maybe. Do I get that choice?
Yep, you do. Yes, no way, or maybe.
It all depends on health. When that roster is fully healthy, they're in the top four in the West. But until Zion Williamson comes back and they get some rhythm here, we're basically now into the stretch run of the NBA season. Hard to believe, I know, with the regular season not ending till mid-April. But when you get under 25 games, that's considered the stretch run. So we'll see. I think they make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they're a half a game in the lead right now for the last spot, something like that.
For the last spot, yes.
Yeah, but there's three teams right there, so it could anybody. But yeah, I'm looking forward. Especially if Williamson's playing, I really want to see him in the playoffs because that'll be a lot of fun.
I want to see him, Pat, on March 30th because I have Pelicans at Denver Nuggets on March 30th, so I want him back before March 30th.
All right. Trying to read number three. I can't read my own writing. That's not very good. I know. I'm sorry. You have looked into being a firefighter here in Gainesville. And for those of you who don't know, Sean did that in Mandeville.
Sort of. I met with the fire chief in Gainesville back in the fall. And no, I don't want to go back and be an active firefighter, but I do want to be someone that, whether it's be a resource or an advocate for them in some way. And so if they were to ask me to do something other than firefighting, I would be certainly happy to help.
Well, that's good for you. I appreciate that. And we appreciate you in Gainesville. We love having you. And I know you're staying busy. You've still got some ESPN stuff you're doing. You're going to do more baseball this year. And that's exciting. I know Jeff's happy about that. And obviously you still got a few more basketball games. So you stayed pretty busy though, but we appreciate you being patient to come on here because I had to keep screwing up and finally we got you on here. And it's always great talking to you, Sean.
It is an honor to be on your podcast today, and you and so many others have made me feel so welcome here. And as far as life choices go or changes, this one has been a very happy one, and I can't thank everyone enough.
Well, we appreciate you, buddy. We'll talk to you a little bit later, maybe right before football season. How about that?
Sounds great. Keep up the good work, Pat. Thank you.
Okay, Sean Kelley, the voice of the Gators. What a great interview that was. Not because it was great questions. It was just good answers. And great yes, no, where, maybe as well. We got to take a break. When we come back, We will do Hesser and Kipke, 3 things, Leonardo's a Millhopper, quick picks, Adam's Ribco to go, Gators of the week, this, that, and the other. We got a million things to do. We always do in the third segment. We'll be back with that after we take this break on another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Dooley Noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam's Ribco to go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Ribco to go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Pat Dooley's Storytime is brought to you by Eastlake Pediatrics. Nobody knows how to provide pediatric health care for little Gators better than Dr. Mike and the other board-certified pediatricians and the pediatric nurse practitioners of Eastlake Pediatrics. They have been providing personalized health care to the children of Pinellas, Pasco, and Hillsborough counties since 2004. And with the recent addition of Dr. Chris, who is also board certified in sports medicine, they are now offering care for youth sports injuries as well. To learn more about Eastlake Pediatrics, call 727-372-6760. And to get to know them better, listen to Dr. Mike and Dr. Carey on their Peds and Pop podcast on multiple platforms.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
Jeffrey, what are you doing?
Well, I'm joining the band, of course. Since Meldon Law is the official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, I want to help.
Dad, we're litigators. Let's stick to helping people in the courtroom.
Well, can we still hang out and jam a little bit? At Meldon Law, we won't back down.
The games of the week and the games of the weekend every week are brought to you by the Ben Eige team at Odell Realty. Ben Eige graduated from the University of Florida in 1998. He and his team now help Gators find vacation homes in western North Carolina that also double as investment properties. Ben and his team have helped many folks take advantage of the incredible opportunities in mountain homes that also produce amazing returns on investments. Ben Eige and his team at Odell Realty go the extra mile to find properties and evaluate their income potential for their clients. Maybe you've thought of buying a home that can be used as short-term rental via Airbnb or Vrbo, generate income for you, and be a place for your family to vacation. Or you may just be looking for a great way to expand your real estate investment portfolio. I know I am. Visit www.beneige.com/Gators. That's www.beneige.com BenEige.com/Gators and discover what owning your own short-term home can accomplish for you. That's Ben Eige at Odell Realty, licensed real estate broker in North Carolina and proud Gator alum. Visit www.BenEige.com/Gators or call 704-201-4264. All right, welcome in to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Tammy got switched over to the pilot seat because Jared had to leave for something, and so the final show she does, she ends up being the sole producer. How about that? That's what irony that is. And now I'm going to really cry. Let us get to our Hesser and Kipke three things. And, of course, Hesser and Kipke is a Gainesville law firm specializing in the areas of workers' compensation and family law. Ken and Jennifer take great pride in their one-to-one focus on each and every client they represent. I always want to say one-on-one focus because that's what sports and everything. Ken is a board certified in workers' compensation law by the Florida Bar, while Jennifer possesses extensive jury trial experience with a nearly 20-year background as a prosecutor. Don't believe me? Well, check out their more than 55 five-star Google reviews. Or better yet, give them a call at 352-339-9920. That was pretty spotless, wasn't it? I got it, finally. All right, number one on the Hesser and Kipke three things. I don't know if you got to see this Brandon Miller game the other night. This is after the big controversy, of course, about him delivering a gun to the guy who ended up shooting this young woman, Jamia Harris. Make sure you say her name because she's the one who passed away. Look, I don't know what's going to happen with Brandon Miller. Is that the right thing to do? Obviously not. I think I'm not surprised they didn't suspend him in any way because they don't have to. He's not been charged with anything. They don't have to suspend him. And in Alabama, they're having a special season, and they don't want to disrupt it. And so I said, well, Brandon Miller in this game against South Carolina he may get a little nervous and about they're going to boo him and everything. And he went for 41. Guy is unbelievable. He'll be the first pick in the draft, and if the team that doesn't pick him first may try to hide behind the controversy, but in the NBA, are you kidding me? Think they're not going to take a guy because he had a gun? No. But he's an unbelievable player. Certainly, it's a bad situation, but he is what he did the other night was incredible. Number two, Anthony Richardson, the number one pick in the draft. That's according to CBS. We go to the Colts, and I'm like, I was thinking about it. I was like, has there ever been a player more vilified by a fan base who was the number one pick in the draft? I mean, half the Gator fans hate him. Half the Gator fans love him. He gave you a chance to win every game, but he gave you a chance to lose every game. I've said that before. And it ends up being the number one pick in the draft. Well, that's how physically talented he is. I mean, he was an incredible player. And there also was a really bad player at times. But, in the NFL, they look at what you can do physically. That's more a thing. Don't forget, the Combine starts March 2nd. He will kill it. He won't throw there, I guarantee you. He won't throw there. He'll do everything else, and they're going to fall in love with him. He'll wait till he gets down here for Florida draft evaluation and throw to guys he knows and be more comfortable. That's my prediction. Number three, we talk about blue bloods all the time in college basketball, and I think people sometimes think they're blue bloods and they're really not. For example, Florida is not a blue blood. They had a blue blood period when Billy was here. There's no doubt. I mean, winning the two national titles, going to 4 Final Fours, but before, after, no, not a blue blood. You don't pack the stadium or the arena for every game. And I mean, don't take that as an insult. I mean, it's just the way it is. But man, there are some blue bloods that are struggling out there, and I bring this up because people talk all the time about this should never happen at the University of Florida, where the team is 500 at this point. Well, Louisville this year is 4-24. That's not good. Louisville would be considered a blue blood. I guess they're not anymore. But the reason I brought this up is because Ohio State. Remember Ohio State? remember that team that Florida battled for the national championship with? And it started a new rivalry, and then they were still good after, and then they get rid of Mata. Anyway, they are. I didn't even know this because I don't follow Big 10 basketball that much. Ohio State lost last night to Penn State. I watched the end of that game. 11-17. That's where they are under Chris Holtmann right now. So it happens. It happens. It just happens. Okay? Don't get up. I don't want to ever hear this should never happen here. It should happen here. It will happen here. It'll happen again. Hopefully you get it back to another level. So that is our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Let us get to our Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks. Make it simple for you. We did have some winners who guessed correctly that Riley Kugel would be the leading scorer for Florida in the game Wednesday night, and he was at 25 points. This one's going to be simpler. Florida at Vandy. I don't really know who's going to win. Vandy just losing that last game gives me pause. Look, I know who I'd pick, but we're going to make it simple. Florida at Vanderbilt. And Matthew Fail, I swear to God, I am going to get your stuff to you. I just have been busy. I've been busy and sick. It's a bad combination. All right, let us get to this, that, and the other. And this, that, and the other, as always, is presented by our good friends at Ballyhoo and our good friends at Ironwood and our good friends at Shackhouse Insurance. We appreciate them. This is, some people have seen me wearing Seattle gear around town or other places, and they go, why are you a Seattle fan? I'm like, well, I'll tell you why I'm a Seattle fan. I like their crowd. I like the way that it feels like a college game. I like their colors. I kind of like Pete Carroll, and I like them. I kind of adopted them for a while. I've since divorced them. But the other thing was, if you like a team like that, that part of it is you're going to love the quarterback. And the quarterback, Russell Wilson, yeah, I liked him in college. Looking forward to it. And unfortunately, the other is, turns out that Russell Wilson's kind of a jerk and very arrogant and very full of himself. And now he tried to get Pete Carroll fired and the GM. And you read that stuff and you go, it goes back to the old saying, be careful when you meet your heroes. I didn't even have to meet them. All I had to do was read the internet. Because it all must be true if it's on the internet. Anyway, that is this, that, and the other. Our Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Week, brought to you by Adams Ribco to Go, where I ate twice last week. So, Adam, remember that. I did eat there twice. Our Gator of the Week is KK Deans. We haven't talked a lot about women's basketball. They haven't been very good. They've had a bad season. We thought it would be better than it is. It's not. It hasn't been. But last night she scored 22 on senior night. She is a senior, and of course they won. They beat Alabama 81-77. Alabama, they're 20-8 now. They were 20-7 going in that game, so that's a good win. Maybe they're starting to figure things out. I don't know. They had a great first half and then not a great second half, but they held on and won that game. So congratulations to Kelly Ray Finley and the women, but especially to KK Deans, senior, who scores 22 on senior night. Let's get us to the Ben Eige Odell Realty games of the weekend. The Gator game, for those of you who will be watching it, Vanderbilt is at 6 o'clock on ESPN2. The national game, to me, is Texas at Baylor. It feels like Texas and Baylor play every weekend. I don't know why it feels that way. But it's 8 versus 9. That game is Saturday at 2 o'clock on ESPN. And then the SEC game of the week for me is Auburn at Kentucky. That is at 4 on CBS. So they are considering it a big game as well. Auburn at Kentucky. That'll be fun to watch. And we'll see that Kentucky team that was just here. Baseball this weekend. The games are Friday at 6:30, Saturday at 4, and Sunday at noon. Gymnastics. Kentucky comes to town. 5:45 is the start time, but that means it starts at 6, but they want you there early so you don't distract anybody, I guess. All right, finally, let us get to our Pat Dooley story time, as always brought to you by the great folks at Eastlake Pediatrics. And Eastlake Pediatrics is one of the sponsors of the Bob Dooley Invitational, and I'm going to talk about it for a minute. This was something that happened where Christy Gibbons, who is executive director of Stop Children's Cancer, and we had this idea to send letters out to all the coaches or as many coaches as possible to try to get helmets, which is a big feature of our term. We get a bunch of helmets, usually 8 to 12, sometimes not as many. But she had the idea, and I wrote the letter, and I talked about Mike Leach a lot in the letter because Mike Leach always sent a helmet to the tournament. We're going to honor him. We're going to put him in the Hall of Fame. She said, let's just send them to everybody. She sent them out to 236 coaches. And I'm like, whoa, okay, great. That's good. We'll probably get 2 or 3 helmets back from that. So far, we have 12. And it's unbelievable the way that when they come in, it's just so, I just start laughing. Now it's like square box on my front doorstep. I think 2 nights ago last night. Yeah, 2 nights ago was Wake Forest. Appreciate Dave Clausen for sending us one. Last night it was Eastern Washington. So there's one. I don't know if it's going to get a lot of money, but again, all these helmets are signed by the coaches, and we appreciate that. We've got so many. We got Syracuse coming, still Northwestern's coming. One from the SEC so far. Nick Saban. How about that? That's pretty cool. Not Billy Napier. We'll get that. I promise you that. And also, I gotta throw this out there. Again, we sent them to all these coaches. We got something from Mark Stoops, a signed picture for him. Now, what am I supposed to do with that? Come on, man. I don't want a signed picture of you or of anybody. Helmets. It's all about helmets. All right, but that is our Pat Dooley story time. Goodbye, Tammy. Can I do the outro with you? You can do the outro with me, yes. All right, we're ready for the outro. So, are you ready? Yeah. All right, because now you'll get to see Tammy, her final day, her final show. We appreciate it. That is the end of the show, and we'll be back with the show Monday with Coach Spurrier. Until then, I am Pat Dooley, and I am deep, I am way back, and I am out of here.